we have our first visitor on the red carpet, Mr. Sandeep Sharma. Sandeep, tell us a little bit about what having the first annual film festival in Chicago means to you.
It's a little overwhelming in the sense that this great space that we're in, and I'm just actually really excited to be here because I get a short film here, so
awesome.
It's great to be with a bunch of the artists here and well, so it's pretty great.
That's
I'm excited.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Tell us about Wild Things.
So Wild Things is a short film we did about 12 minutes long and involved about 100 patients. And it took us about 18 months, and it was inspired by Maurice Sendak's Where the Wild Things Are. So they helped with set design, creation of the creatures, music, and sound design. So they were involved in all of that process.
That's awesome.
So, yes.
All right, guys, we have another very, very esteemed visitor, Ajay Naidu. He may be a familiar face from the, of course, cult hit The Office Space.
Thank you for noticing that one. Thank you.
Of course. But of course, you're here for another really big accomplishment, and that's your directorial debut of Ashes.
Yes, thanks. Thanks for noticing. Thank you. Thanks for having it along.
Of course.
So yeah, it's a very big deal for me, and this is a major homecoming. So I'm honored and thrilled, and I think it's a really beautiful festival so far. So
that's great. And you're originally from the Evanston area. So
yeah, that's right.
Back and actually see that.
I come home a lot, you know, but this is all obviously very, very gratifying and really, really lovely to be with my community and my friends and my family, and to have my show sell out like this is just very, very good.
Well, you're making your hometown proud.
Oh, thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about the film?
Yeah, I can. It's a hard story. It's a tough story, a social drama about a young guy who takes care of his brother who's sick, and without giving anything away, it's rough, but it ends up triumphantly. So it's one of those.
Got it. And another question for you. What was it like switching from in front of the camera to behind the camera? What was the biggest challenge?
Actually, I think that was the easiest part. I mean, I played the part in my film because I was nervous that the guy, whoever I hired, wouldn't show up. So I just kept wandering back out in front of the camera. But it was fun, and it was in the tradition of acting. In the real tradition of acting, there are no directors. We all just play together. So it was nice to experience that, and I didn't have any trouble doing that. And I'll continue to do things like that, I hope, forever. Tell stories no matter what. So
that's great. And you can't turn on the TV and not see an Asian face on network television.
Right.
What's your thought on that? We're growing. And
oh, I mean, my thoughts are that, of course, I mean, as part of the American landscape, I've seen it become something that's not just a trick, but something that becomes par for the course, and then something that people do out of necessity, and then finally we're moving towards where people are just hiring people. And I've been in the business so long that I know that it dips and it rises that way. But I'm glad to see more and more, no matter what. Good or bad, I'm glad to see diversity. So.
So the guests are coming in and joining for this beautiful evening for the first annual Chicago Arts Film Festival, and we have Snehal Patel. Snehal, welcome. So you're visiting us from LA?
I am. I'm here from Los Angeles. I'm really excited about the Chicago South Asian Film Festival.
Can you tell us a little bit about your participation this weekend?
Yeah, I am going to be teaching a workshop on how to use Canon DSLR cameras for professional filmmaking, because I do it all the time when I'm in Hollywood. So I'm bringing that knowledge here and doing a workshop on Saturday and Sunday. And I'm also going to be showing the first piece that I ever did with Canon DSLR, Indian Gangster, tonight after the reception. So it's kind of cool. It's a lot of fun. And one of my films I edited, Victor Ramirez Assassino, is also playing, I think, on 1 o'clock on Saturday. So it's great to be such a good, part of a big festival. And I get to see all my friends from all over the world. I mean, I got Varun, a friend of mine, coming in from India and Rajeshwari. And then I have, people from New York and LA, Chicago, so.
Folks, I'd like to introduce you to Reena Shah, one of the actresses in Ajay Naidu's directorial debut, Ashes. So Reena, this is the first annual Chicago South Asian Film Festival. Tell us a little bit about what it means to have a festival like this.
I think it's absolutely amazing, and I'm so honored to be a part of the first, inaugural event here in Chicago for this festival. I actually have 2 projects here at the festival. The first one is Sita Sings the Blues, that's screening on Saturday. It's a free screening, so anyone can come and see this beautiful animated feature, on the big screen. And then, of course, Ashes is having its U.S. premiere on Saturday at 8 o'clock, so I'm really thrilled about that as well. And it's just really special, of course, to have Ashes here because this is Ajay Naidu's hometown.
And tell us a little bit about the experience of acting in the film and working with Ajay.
He He is one of the most brilliant actors I've ever worked with. He really just brings out the best in you when you're working with him. There's just so much that he gives you that you can't do anything else but just be there and be present with him. And you know, that's what I love about acting. It's what I love about the arts. It's just about being in the moment with what we do and telling amazing stories that need to be told. And I'm just very blessed to be a part of two really special projects here at the festival.
That's great. And tell me a little bit about what inspired you to get into the film industry and become an actress.
Well, I've been learning Bharatanatyam dancing since the age of 4 from, you know, the late Guru Padmini Ramachandran, and she was a very famous film actress in India, of course. And just through Bharatanatyam dance, because we tell stories through Bharatanatyam, we end up, you know, doing pure dance and storytelling, and through that, it really gave me the basis to dive into, you know, the acting world and all of that. So I love it. I love to tell stories, and I love to interpret what is going on in the world right now, whether it's fiction or nonfiction. So I just want to keep doing what I'm doing, but that's how I got into it. Was first through Bharatanatyam dancing, and then, you know, it went from there to taking, you know, acting classes and all of that, yeah.
Well, that's great. You are certainly an inspiration to our viewers, and thank you so much for spending the time with us today. I'd like to introduce you to Aparna Sen, who, as we all know, is the winner of many national film and international film festival awards. And this weekend you will be debuting your film, Japanese Wife. And I read the synopsis of this film. Can you please tell us the inspiration for it?
Well, when I read the story, it seemed almost surreal in its innocence. And I thought, in this violent times, a love story that was so utterly innocent is something that I should do.
Yes. And, you know, as you know, this is the first annual South Asian Film Festival in Chicago. Can you tell us a little bit about how the face of film has changed for South Asians from the time that you had started in the industry?
Well, you know, Bollywood has become very big since then. It always was, but now it's huge. And also it's a great time for Indian cinema because, you see, all kinds of subjects are now being used. Earlier on, you used to have that boy meets girl, runs around trees, but now there are all kinds of subjects that are being made. And even Asian cinema is changing. I mean, for instance, in recent times, we've, of course, I mean, Iranian cinema has really come into its own. So I think the whole face of Asian cinema is actually changing. Now you see films from Vietnam and Korea, films that you didn't see before. And I think the person responsible for that is Aruna Vasudev from Delhi, you know, the editor of Cinemaya. She was the person really responsible for actually making us aware of Asian cinema.
I'd like to introduce you to Baljit Sangra. Baljit, I'd love to ask you a couple of questions because your story is certainly an interesting one that I think our viewers will be interested in. Your movie Warrior Boys premieres this weekend, and I can tell you it uncovers a social issue that I never knew existed. Tell us about the story.
Well, yeah, I'm a Vancouver-based filmmaker. It's a story that's played out in the media for a number of years in Vancouver. We've lost about 140 young people under the age of 30 to gang violence. So the reason I made this film, the reason I made this film is kind of look at some of the issues. Why are our youth vulnerable to gangs? So I followed two teenagers in high school over a course of a couple semesters to see like what are the issues that they're vulnerable, and you see what happens in the movie. And there's also a character in the film who was in a gang, so we learn of what drew him into the gang, and also a South Asian principal who's in. So a lot of it takes place in a high school, and that's where kids are often recruited and where they're most vulnerable. And I think the film shares a lot of things we can all relate to: racism, alienation, being bullied, not fitting in. And some of those are the precursors for a lot of young people to get involved in gangs. So I think if we want to do any kind of preventive thing, that's where we got to start, is really young.
It's really young, and also generating a broader awareness that the issue exists. Absolutely.